So this is Dr. C Gnanaprakasam, Associate Professor from the Department of Artificial Intelligence and Data Science, Panimala Engineering College. Today we have a subject in name of software development and practices. This subject our second year students, fourth semester study paper. Software development and the practice, very important essential subject for the all the uh, artificial intelligence students, and they have to implement the project various level, like a mini project and a capstone project, everything. So this is help for that the software development and practices. Now we will look at into the course objectives. So in the course objective, describing the subject, what we have knowledge about, how much of knowledge acquiring into the subject. So that is a very important. So that should be understanding. So first course objective, to understand the phases in a software project, estimate cost and effort. So in this first course objective, to understanding what is the problem statement, that problem statement is converted into a software project. That project, what are the essential requirements needed, and how much of cost to estimate, and how effectively implement. So this is the basic things you should have in the unit 1. And the second course objective, to describe fundamental concept of requirement engineering and analysis modeling. So once the project you have to do, you should get the requirement from the corresponding customer. So that customer giving the detail about the what and what they needed. So example software requirements is categorized into the functional and non-functional requirement. That functional non-functional means what are the is technically and non-technically description. So in the details, uh, take it into what are the requirement considered for the project, what are the requirement non consideration in the project, all those things very important. So in this requirement we have security requirements and user requirement, system requirement, software requirement, what are the documents they needed, and what is the process behind on that project. That is very important. And that project, what are the feasibilities available. So after that, the customer and the engineer and the company people sitting together and to evaluate the requirements and to finalize these are the requirements should be implemented in a project. So that is the second objective. And third objective, to use the various software design methodology, to use the various software design methodology. So once you design, what are the requirement you have to implement, so that time what are the concept behind on that requirement, that should be first of all design concept. So that design concept is converted into a process. So this is the first phase. Second phase, this requirement is the first phase, this is follow into the second, that is follow into the third one. So that is we have to various design process and the design concept you can implement. And what is the coupling between one requirement into another one, how to connectivity and coherence. So these are very important when you can go for the software design. So design model and also designing principles very important. Modeling principle, that modeling principles describing a structured design, and the structured design, what is our system needed, our project, what are the essential component needed into a implement for the architecture. So these are the third course objectives in our software development and practices. Now you can move into the fourth course objective, to learn various testing technologies and maintenance measures. So once you can implemented all the customer requirement is converted into a project. So that project should be given a proper output. This is my customer requirement. That customer requirement is bring into the user interface. What are the input needed, and how that inputs will be performed, that should be very important. So that point of view we go for the testing techniques. So in the software testing fundamentals, we have two different fundamental available. One is the internal and external view of testing. After that, we major classification in the two testing. One is the white box testing, another one is the black box testing. So in the white box testing, basis of the path testing, so I'm using the program, the flow will be there or not, that should be very important. So the first variable, how performance given to another variable. The second variable, how to performing into input of third variable. So this should be is the basis path testing. That control structure testing is nothing but, the control structure testing is how many conditions, what are the conditions you are implies in this program. Once the condition enabled or disabled, that time how data will be move into a flow directions. So that should be where will be the break, where will be the data into the go. So that is all those things we can look at into the under the umbrella of white box testing. Now you can look at into the second category of software testing, black box testing. So in the black box testing, we have various models. Okay, that various models we look at into uh, unit testing, integration testing, regression testing, and validation testing. So these are the testings, especially system testing, security testing, testing tools. What are the things should be implemented into the um, software. Okay, so and fifth one, to analyze agile development and DevOps. So in the analyze agile development, once you can implemented the software testing project, then that should be put it into a server. So after that, that server, how the clients we utilize and what are the pipelining, that is like a cloud computing, so that maintain the central processor server will be helping, and how the users can be implemented into a project. And also development, various development operationals available, that is we called as the DevOps, that should be implemented properly, and these things should be very carefully. So these are the course objective for the software development and practices. We summarize the course objective to understanding the phases in a software project, estimate the cost and efforts, to describe the fundamental concept and various software, and learning various techniques and development. So these are the objective of the course. So forthcoming class we discuss about the what is the software process and planning. Thank you.